J Shuler, baby. Molly. Everybody hates you, everybody not you. Some people lack integrity, some of them look like you. See they reflection in your eyes, some people run when they can't hide. I've been outside the line so long, it's like I'm courtside. Where I belong is irrelevant, no, especially I'm headed. Welcome back to the Everybody Hates You podcast. I'm your host, J Shuler, and I'm here today with my guest,
Sara Shaikh.
and we have a great episode for you here today. So, Sarah, tell people about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do for a living.
What a great intro. I am, man, where do I start? And I'm shifting through things right now where I used to just be a wedding photographer. And now I'm shifting into business life coaching and a lot of healing. I opened a studio. I do a lot of different things. So I hate to categorize myself into one thing. Basically, multi business owner and just highly spiritual and into learning about self development and astrology and things to just elevate who we are as people.
And I love that about you, and I want to get into it. First, we're gonna go through these questions a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I met you as a wedding photographer with your own business. How did you get into photography?
I got into it because I wanted to cut class in high school and I wanted to learn about doing something creative. I knew I loved to draw. I loved anything with art. And then I was like, okay, I was extremely shy. I couldn't even have a one-on-one conversation like this at all without freaking out or being in my head. So I was like, what's the best way to do something creative is hide. So if you're hiding behind a camera, you don't have to talk to people. You can just get a camera and shoot and you're good.
You
So that's what started it.
you talked yourself into being social by in your
Not
head not
wanting to-
being social,
Social, yes.
by hiding behind the camera.
Yeah.
That is so funny how something like that's almost like sunglasses.
Yeah, but it really opened me up. That's the thing, because to do photography, yeah, you can be a documentary photographer where you're more hiding and that kind of thing. But I realized I loved connecting with people. And then I realized I was way more of an extrovert than I thought I was. So it really just changed the game for me once I started going with it.
What was your first camera?
First camera ever was my friend's dad's digital, it was a Sony Cybershot. I couldn't even ask my family to get me a camera, but I guess he had one just sitting there. And I was like, well, I'm in a photography class and I need to have something. So she just asked him and he let me borrow it. And I still remember one of my first shots was taking the shower head and the water coming out of the spout. And I got it so perfectly crisp and we see the water droplets and I was just like, wow, that's so cool.
I was gonna ask you if you remembered your first photo.
That was one of the first ones. And then I also took one of I had this bridge in my neighborhood that we used to walk in and it was the light was hitting so perfectly and I got it so nicely and I loved that shot so much.
When in your photography class, did they do the old school method? Did you actually do
No.
okay.
I wish they would have played with that more, but everything was shifting into digital. So they were way more digital focused and just learning different concepts about just photography in general, but more so shooting, our classmates and nature, whatever we could do with school type of thing.
All right. And how did you break into the wedding industry as a photographer?
I knew I had an inkling that the money was at the weddings because I had been doing portrait photography at a studio. That's kind of how I started learning. But I was making an hourly wage, maybe $9-10 an hour. So there's only so much you can make with that. But then with the weddings, I was just oh, actually the funny thing is as a child, I was obsessed with Indian weddings when my parents would take me. And my mom would tell me this story that she would take me to a wedding and I was maybe 5 or 6 and I would just stand in front of the stage and I wouldn't move. And I would just stare at the bride and groom and I was just mesmerized. So I think that's initially where the love started for these Indian weddings. But then I was like, well, how do I get in? How do I tap into that market? So I walked into, there's an Indian mall in Norcross. I don't know if you know Global Mall.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it's a mall that's just Indian stores. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah. So Indian food, it has a food court, it's got all the shops, you can get
Oh, that's
clothes.
dope.
So I was like, why not just go there and walk in? There was a photographer there and he was well known in the industry. And I just walked into his store with my parents and asked him for a job and he said yes.
It's like that in those because back home in Jersey City there's like an area like
Mhm.
that. And I remember one day I went with my friend and we ended up going into the shop. It was an older man and his wife and they had like a bunch of like little of the like the different gods and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
we literally sat down with him for an hour and he just explained to us all of the different gods and how they work and how they can
Wow.
protect you if you have one for your car. They
And
like
you know
explain.
that's what they're doing at the weddings is like at the Indian weddings they are adorning each god. They're like bathing them. They're like doing different rituals with each god and that's what's
I didn't
happening on
understand that
stage.
that was each. That's why it takes so long.
It does and actually now these are short. Those
What?
weddings used to be 5 to 6 hours long.
That's crazy because when he was, I didn't realize in that religion that they have a god for literally everything.
Everything.
Which I'm like that. I thought that
That makes
concept
so much
is.
sense.
I'm like, so you're praying to the god of music. You're praying to the god
Yes.
to protect you when you're
Fortune.
driving.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
this is. It made so much sense. So now, okay, now the weddings make a lot more sense to me.
And this is a
I love that.
condensed version of like what we're doing now is like way more shorter. They're getting it done in an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I used to do the same type of thing, but it would take 5 to 6 hours. Like that's a normal wedding. They would literally be doing ritual after ritual for hours.
I love it. 3 days of them just going
Go.
going hard.
I actually used to hate Indian weddings. So, like, when I first started, because I'm like, this is just painfully long. But then as I got more spiritual and I started understanding what they're doing, and then they started making them shorter, I was like, this is so beautiful. I love it.
I'm always just mesmerized because there's so much to look at, always.
There's a lot.
From what they're wearing to the music to the food. There's just so much to take in. But I'm only there for a short
overwhelming.
amount of time. I can imagine doing it day in and day out.
Yeah.
But okay. So I was gonna ask you what made you know you wanted to pursue this and started as a career, but you kind of answered that already.
Mhm.
So what's it like pursuing this career in Atlanta?
In Atlanta, I think I had an edge starting out because I was the only female when I started. And it was primarily a male dominated industry and more so traditional, old school. So, like, when I came in the game, it was kind of like, oh, like I wanted to do something different. I'm like, I don't like that traditional shit. I want to stand out. I want something different. So I kind of came in an untapped market where like there's no other females and actually people feel more comfortable with the female, especially brides. So it really worked out for me.
It's like perfect timing.
And still like to this day, like people recognize that I'm like one of the top female photographers that does Indian weddings in Atlanta, especially, even though we travel all over, but like it's just kind of like known.
I
So
love that. I love that. So what's your favorite thing about photography?
I would say is making people feel comfortable and then seeing their reaction to like the whole process and just the whole energy exchange of doing a shoot. So I don't get a ton of time with couples as you see, like maybe I'll get 10, 15 minutes, but like whatever we can do in that time, like maximize it, get the most we can and make them feel amazing. Like that gets my energy really high and then they feel that. And it's just like a whole energy exchange that I really love.
That's what I love about the energy of weddings. I know you're a little bit more involved. Isn't the energy usually good for the most part?
Ew. They are dealing with a lot of stress. You have to think it's a long day. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of ceremonies, family pressure. Just there's a lot of stress. So most of the time, people will let that bother them. And then we're the ones coming in there being like, okay, we can't worry about that. We got to just be here now. And I think that's what helped me realize like the importance of just being present and like, hey, we can't worry about all that. We got to do this. And then they connect and then it makes sense. But like most of the times you're dealing with people like not so great energies. Like I remember one of the first, like when I started learning about energy was like maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And it was like, cause you could walk into a room and you could feel a disconnect. Like if the bride hated her makeup and the makeup artist was there and they were not vibing,
Yeah.
that translated to everything.
Gosh.
And then like I knew it too with like my boyfriend at the time because me and him worked together. So it was like he was my videographer. If me and him had a fight at home
Oh,
and then we brought that to the wedding,
Yeah.
everything went wrong. So I was like, "Oh, that's how energy works."
no. It's funny though how when you come in with the right kind of attitude of I'm gonna be present, I'm gonna give it my best, I'm gonna put out good energy, and how you can change that whole experience around.
You can
You
shift it.
you probably saved a bunch of weddings out there, and no one would even know
No.
it.
But the people who book me understand that. And like, I think if you read through my reviews, it's pretty consistent where it's like, wow, she kept us grounded. Her team is so amazing. Like, you felt the vibe with everyone. But it took me a long time
Oh,
to like cultivate
I've
that.
been on a Google. She has 5 stars. 5 stars. All right.
5. Thank you for checking.
So before we started, we were talking about your new space that you just opened. Tell us a little bit about it. It's a
Yes.
beautiful place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have always wanted to open my own creative studio. And so I came up with This Modern Collective, which is basically like a modern aesthetic retreat for photographers, videographers, really actually anyone. Anyone that just wants a space to really create and like be able to clear their mind too. Because one thing that I noticed, like with working from home, is sometimes it just is so distracting to be at home because, like, you got to do the laundry, then you got to go grocery, and then if you have pets, you got to worry about them. So, like, getting away from all of that and then, like, disconnecting, and then you could just, like, really focus on, like, okay, what kind of content do I want to come up with? And you can just get really clear, but also it's just a fire spot to shoot.
Yeah,
So,
the space feels elegant. The energy is great. How intentional were you about how you decorated everything and designed it?
very like down to just making sure even when I opened the space that the first event that I did was a sound healing event where I brought in a sound healer who works with Tibetan bowls because I wanted to start with the intention of like this space is not just a studio. And I think initially that was the idea to get me to do everything. I was like, oh, I can just make a space and rent it and make a bunch of money. And that's what got me to do it. But as I started curating everything, buying the furniture, getting everything together, I was like, oh, I don't want everyone in here. And that's why it's like, okay, let's make it more exclusive. Let's make it more of like a membership where people can grow and learn and like start to elevate their brand and reach high levels of success, but with support from me because you're in my studio. I'm not just giving you the keys to do it. I'm also giving you the keys in your head to do
Yes.
it.
And congratulations on that because
Thank
it,
you.
it feels like a safe place where you can do all of those things, but it's also a studio where you can create,
Yeah.
which to usually, especially in spaces like that, it can feel more industrial. It can feel more like
Rigid.
barren, like,
Yeah.
before you put your touch on it. But it's like it's a perfect balance all around.
It really is. And like the fact that I can do workshops and stuff when I'm in town, I just did mini shoots this weekend, made like 2,500 bucks just like that. And was nice because that pays for the rent. Because I haven't been really advertising as much for this space because I want the right people to join and I want them to join when they feel it's right.
Yes.
And I'm also not a pushy, like, hey, look at me and you need to be in my space. It's like, hey, if it aligns and you like what this is, you'll make your way.
I don't love that approach. It could be scary,
It
but
is.
but you're attracting what you want.
Yeah, instead of being in a space of like scarcity of just like I need people to book in here because I need to pay rent. But I literally paid for an empty space for 6 to 7 months because of permit issues.
I remember when you, so that it was permit issues.
Yeah, they found out we were building and I needed a permit and they put a stop work order. It was a whole process, but we had to pay a month. Basically, it's like extra, they want to make extra money, the city. So you have to, but also I should have done things right. I should have took my plans to the city and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." Because when they found out, they stopped it. And to save that spot, I had to keep paying for it. And I wasn't going to let that go. But then I realized all those 6 months went by and I paid for it pretty easily without any worries. So
Awesome.
why am I freaking out?
I did not realize that. So you were hoping to have this open way earlier than?
Got the place in July of last year.
Wow.
Signed the lease in July. I thought realistically I could get everything done by August, maybe September, but it just kept pushing. It kept testing me. I had a lot of moments where it was like, do I just throw all this away? I would go to the city hall and I would be almost at tears and I would just be like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is like the pressure of everything. I needed things to happen. They're waiting forever. Like, the city takes forever. They don't have a lot of people working. And so it just takes a while. And the lady would just look at me and be like, go outside and take a deep breath and come back. Like, you're so close to this being done. Just, you're okay. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right.
It happened when it was supposed to happen.
It did.
Oh man, I didn't know that you went through all of that.
Yeah,
Wowzers.
it was a process.
Okay, so I know with your company you travel not only the country but international as well.
Yeah.
What would you say has been your favorite wedding thus far?
I would say, oh, I mean, Italy was a dream. Italy was just like awesome
Those
and the
photos
whole
look beautiful.
experience. But like, actually, I would say one of my most favorite spots would be Yosemite. Me and Dean did a elopement, and I think that's also part of it too. It was just the couple, us, their two friends and family. So it was a very tight knit group. But we literally, like, for 2 days just like went around and like got to do pictures and videos, and like it was just an incredible experience to do that.
That's such an intimate shoot, just with energy connection and being in nature like that. That does
With
sound
those
pretty.
mountains, and you just see that, and like they did their vows in front of I think it's Glacier Point is the main thing, and so we documented that, and like it was just incredible to be around that. So I would say that's probably my top.
That sounds. I thought you would say Italy, but that when you
Yeah, I mean,
described
Italy
that,
was dope, I will say that, but it was also way more that was like a really sweet wedding, but it wasn't like your typical Italy. It was like in the countryside. It almost felt like that could have been, somewhere in the States, but in the countryside, like a
oh
winery
really?
type of, like, it had that kind of vibe. Like, it didn't feel like what you think Italy would feel like, because
Mm.
it was more of like a different, like they did an Airbnb. It was a very cool style and I loved it. But it was just for like intimacy and just like getting with a couple and getting some really great shots. Also, that was part of it with Italy too, is like we didn't really get to do the shoot that we wanted, where it was like by the coast, and like me and Dean were like envisioning all of this stuff, but like at the end of the day, we can only shoot the wedding that
Yeah.
they have. So their wedding was really sweet, intimate, Airbnb, amazing vibe, but it wasn't what we wanted. But it's not about us.
That is so interesting. I'm gonna go off a little bit because you just brought this up. But what is that like sometimes when you get to a wedding and you have a vision of how you want to make this look?
You have to let it go. You have to do the best with what you can with what you're given.
It's so funny because I've seen those photos and they look great. I thought they captured Italy, but it's so funny because the artist in you have a vision
Oh yeah.
and you didn't get it, so you're kind of like, eh.
And it's like, maybe it's just not that time. Maybe now what will happen is like I could go back to Italy and do like a styled shoot out there. That is more in line with it. When you're trying to get a specific look, that's a styled shoot. But what happens is, as wedding photographers, is like we want to get that in the wedding. but it's not about that. It's about their wedding,
Yeah.
right? So when I came terms with that, it changed a big shift in my head of just like, oh, it's not about me. It's about them, and we just have to do with what we're given and do the best you can.
So, doing all this traveling, doing weddings that are 3 days long, what kind of toll does this take on
A
you
lot.
mentally, physically?
A lot. So much so that like I'm probably averaging now one wedding a month. And from going from doing, I think the max we did was maybe 70, in the 70s for the year. So imagine like that's multiple weddings like in a weekend, double booking. It's overworking. It's a lot of that.
You were not kidding last year when you said you wanted to.
Slow down. And like progressively since the last 2 years, the first one, I think we did 35. Last year we did um, 24. And this year I probably have like 16, 15 or 16 on the books for the team. But for me personally, I only have like 5.
Wowzers. Good for you.
And I had to put that out there of just like, this is what I want and I have to do it. Not so much because I don't like shooting weddings. I love it. Like when I get in the mode, I'm there, I'm in it. But for me to focus on everything else, and then for me also energy wise, like you come back to the toll question, it takes a toll. Like your body, even you work out, you eat the right stuff, like weddings, it's like you're so engrossed in what's happening. You don't even get to like use the bathroom. If you get to eat, it's a quick, you're scarfing it down in 5 seconds. Like on your body, that's not good.
How important is self-care to you?
So much. And it is because of the job, the career that I started learning about it, and then learning about like boundaries with clients. Like you can't text me at night. We're putting my phone. Dean jokes with me all the time. He's like, your phone stays in do not disturb all the time. Even today he called me and he's like, wow, I got you on the first ring. He's like, this has not happened, because whenever he calls me, it's in do not disturb. Because I just you have to block it, and you have to prioritize your time and your energy. And like, I realized I was like waking up and like jumping straight into work. I was jumping on the computer, checking the emails. I got to do this. And like my body was in fight or flight for many years. So now I'm just like, okay, I can relax into my day. And also now living in Florida, I get to go to the beach.
Do you have to hit that wall though to know sometimes like, oh, this is bad for me.
Yeah,
I'm not taking
I
care
think
of myself.
that's kind of the majority of people have to hit the wall, but you don't really. Like if you just start to understand that like, hey, if I give myself time, it's not a bad thing, and we don't have to feel bad about it. But we're in a culture of just like, you got to go, we got to hustle, we got to get to the next thing. But like, hey, let's just stop and be right here and just breathe.
Listening to your body is so important, because when your body is giving you those signals and those messages, it's
Time to rest.
Yes.
And I had that this week. I've been running since I came back to Florida. I had the mini shoots, I had other shoots. I was back to back to back. And then I started feeling it, and the body was just like, you need a rest. And I was like, no, but I got to do more. And then finally it was just like, nope, you're not doing shit for 2 days, and you have to sit back and you're going to do that.
It's funny because you've taken some things off your plate while adding some things to your plate.
Oh, yeah.
And now you're also juggling with living in 2 different states. What is that like for you right now?
I love it. I think it's a good balance, because what happens is I come here and I get my work done, and then I go back and I hibernate and I like rest. I get back to myself even more, and then I'm like ready to come back and do it again.
So Florida, you've made that is your safe place to relax.
Oh yeah.
You're not working.
It's basically my early retired life.
Yes.
I like over there, I'm not marketing. I'm not shooting. My camera sits. Literally my bag sits exactly the way it is, and then I take it to Atlanta.
Yes. I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. So how has social media helped you get the word out about this model of photography?
Social media was is the name of the game. because I realized that I could use that, like leverage that to get people to see who I am, see what my brand is about. And honestly, that's how we've been able to book weddings all over, because people see the work, they resonate with it, and they're like, "Yeah, we want you there. We'll pay your accommodations and everything." So, like without social media, I mean, I do get really great word of mouth referrals, but like once that opened up, it was just like boom, you have literally the whole world to market to. And when I started seeing it as that, and I started like realizing, oh, like social media can be my friend, and I used to have a really big block with it where I was like, "Oh, I don't like how it feels to post. I don't want to worry about it. I hate posting." I was like, "No, we have to stop that mindset and look at it as opportunity."
Yeah.
And then now, especially more as I get really comfortable with like putting up the phone and like talking, and people really resonate with that. Like people know what's going on in my life. Literally everyone at the mini shoots this weekend was like, "Oh, you're in Florida, you're doing this, you're doing that." Like they feel like they're connected. And that's what social media is.
And it's so important. It's so important just to be connected to people. I love that.
Cuz you know what's going on, and like you feel like it's just you're in their life without being in their life.
And I love your website.
Thank
Your
you.
website is so nice to
I had a
navigate. I love
really
the it's so good.
amazing designer, Kish from India.
Shout out Kish.
Yeah, Kish is fire. He did my logo, my branding.
Love the logo too.
He is super fire, and I loved his vision with my website. I just let him run with it.
It's just like small little touches, like when it's loading, the logo comes up. Just small little things like that. I love. Oh goodness,
You're
excuse
fun.
me. I love little things like that.
No, that's
Um,
nice. I'm glad you checked it out.
what would your present self tell your 13-year-old self, knowing the things that you
Ooh,
know now?
that's a good question. I would say like it's all in your head. Like the stories I was creating about myself and just my worthiness and the self doubt. And I used to have major inferiority complex because I grew up in Kennesaw and I came from a brown family, like Pakistani, and I never really felt like I fit in because I just wanted to really be a white girl. I
Seems
wanted
easier to
it
be a white girl.
more than anything, like to wear the dresses, to be able to play sports, to just have freedom. And I was just raised in an environment where it didn't promote that. It was like, you're a girl, you have to stay at home, you have to stay modest, and like didn't get to go to prom, didn't get to do any of that stuff. And I just resented it, but I had so much anger about it. I actually used to have like a really bad anger problem, like temper. I would blow up with my sister, fight her, and my mom was like considering to put me in anger management.
Oh wowzers! You would never.
You would
You
never
would
guess
never-
now, but I had really bad issues, and even to the point of like just like feeling suicidal at times, just like I could not like connect to the world the way I wanted to, and I felt really misunderstood. And I just didn't I was just like, what's the point? I don't want to be here type of thing. So fighting through that, but yeah, I would tell my 13-year-old self like it's all in your head, and you got to learn ways to learn and love yourself like throughout it all, and it gets better.
I didn't realize the Pakistani culture was so strict. I did have a friend in like fifth grade. She was Pakistani. Faiza, I remember her name.
Yeah.
She lived on what was it, maybe the fifth floor in my building, but we went to the same grammar school, and I remember we were working on a project together, and I remember having to get some kind of permission. I just remember there was some kind of stress that I was having around having to go downstairs to give her the book and ring her doorbell.
Yeah.
Like something like I
There
remember
was
having to tell her
pressure.
father or
Yeah.
something beforehand
Uh-huh.
or something that he knew that we were working on this project.
And that's all it was.
Yeah. It's really that strict?
It's that strict.
Up until even as you get older, like no sports, no
no
prom,
sports,
no
no
dating.
prom. Dating is like you have to find ways to date secretly. And
If
that's
it's not within the culture or just period.
no, just secretly. Like the parents don't, it's like this don't ask, don't tell policy, but also it's like they don't want to know what you're doing. But then it's a really messed up thing, actually. But it's just, it's a lot of hiding, and it's a lot of like you can't be who you want to be. You can't like we would have to always say we're hanging out with our girlfriends and then like go meet a guy. But then you're not supposed to be doing that. So then the parents can kind of come in and like it can cause a lot of stress and anxiety and just like then like to me I start wanting to rebel because I'm just like I hate anyone telling me what to do. And that's all like my mom and my dad wasn't as, I mean, he was strict, but he was always busy working and like he ran his own business. So he's just always gone. So really my mom was the one that was more controlling and like you just like on us and always calling me like you need to come home. And like it's just a very hard life to live, but you do with what you can and you find ways. So like I technically couldn't have boyfriends, but like you're still a girl and you still like want to be able to talk to people and get attention. So you're just
Yeah.
finding ways to do it, which aren't that healthy.
It's crazy how certain like because that could be traumatic for someone,
Yeah,
and I don't want to be dramatic, but
it
there's
is.
trauma there. But it's funny how sometimes trauma translates to different things. Like for you, it brought out your anger because I was very angry from things that happened in my childhood too, and it's like n-
Like,
knowing
why
you.
can't I be this?
But knowing you, you would not. I would never think in a million years that you would be able to be angry or
Oh, yeah.
get into fights with your
I
sister.
would like throw shit
It,
and
it's funny how trauma can alter your personality
they
from
really
who you
can.
really are.
Yeah, and then even the fact that like I had an arranged marriage and like jumping into that. Now I'm in this household which I lived with his whole family. I was in New York, I was in Long Island actually. Yeah. So
Wowzers.
I was going to New Jersey all the time, but like balancing that whole aspect of like now I have to be someone who I'm not. Like and it went against every grain of my body because like I just want to be free, but now I'm living in a joint household with the whole family and I'm learning this guy that's much older than me and we're trying to figure each other out, but like that's also triggering a lot of things too because now you're married, now you're dealing with a lot of different
Holy
things. So
shit.
it was wild.
Oh my
I've lived a lot of
gosh.
lives.
That's a lot, Sarah.
Yeah, it's a lot. But throughout everything was like I always had my business to fall back on. And like actually that became my driving force, especially as like, left the marriage and we got divorced. It was like, okay, you got to pick up the pieces. What are you going to do? And it just, okay, we're going to keep shooting. We know how to make money that way. We're just going to keep doing that. And then the fact that I was able to build it from nothing to where it's now supporting other people and helping other people grow. And that's been the best thing ever. So
That's one thing going through my own divorce is like that new perspective that you get. That's like it's freeing.
you get
It's
yourself back.
yes, you really do. And you just start to prioritize what's important to you and what you
It's
want to
like
do
you
with your
marry
life.
yourself.
Literally, you take all of the lessons that you learned and you just put it into yourself and love yourself. That's
And
what you
that's what we need
do
to
here.
do. Like the whole experience, like I wouldn't, people are like, oh, do you regret it? You wasted your good years. And I'm like, no, I learned so much.
Yeah.
And like, even now, a few years ago, while I was like on my starting my spiritual journey, I was like, oh, I need to email my ex and like just tell him, like, I see why you were the person you are and I forgive you. And, like I'm on my spiritual journey, but like, I don't hold anything against you. Like you made those moves you need to because your position and like it's like you could take yourself out of the ego of like we were just battling so much and it was just like me against him and like it didn't need to be like that, but it did.
Sometimes you try the best you can, and that's
That's really
all you
what it
can.
is. Yeah.
That's all you can do. You can't fault someone for how much they tried. They tried. You tried.
Yeah, and that's just what it is. And if it's not going to work, it's okay. Like we can move on, we can grow, and I wished him the best. I'm like I hope you got the life you wanted because it was able to open up my life to where I was able to like really pour everything into what I want to do.
What's your dream project?
Ooh, I would say, okay, so I have this idea, and I think it's actually manifesting right now somehow.
The way you're like,
But
I think it's
I wanted to, and it kind of ties into the story of my childhood and or like adulthood and stuff. Make a film called Little Brown Girl, and basically follow the life of like, you know, what brown girls have to go through.
I fucking love that. I love that. Please do that.
Yeah, it's definitely I wrote that down many years ago, and crazy enough, some production company from Spain just emailed me, and they're looking to do kind of a similar thing, but theirs is a comedy, and they want me to direct it. So I might be doing that, and then that might lead to that, which like I also shot a film when I was in Barcelona, and it's been nominated for a lot of awards at a festival.
Time out. What are we doing here?
Sorry.
She's let me say photographer this, photographer. When?
Okay, I'll tell you this. Because I was going to Europe, I was like, I want to do a styled shoot when I'm out there. And I want it to be like an Indian one because that's my whole thing. And so I have this colleague, like someone that works for me that I met on Upwork, and she's Indian and she lives in Berlin. And I was like, hey, do you want to meet? Like, we haven't never met, but we've worked together. And like, I've hired her and paid her for things. I was like, I'm coming to Spain. If you want to meet, we can, I'll get an Airbnb. We'll meet and you can be my model or whatever. And so we started planning a styled shoot, and it was originally supposed to just be photos. But then as we expand more on it, she's like, oh, let's play with video. And I was like, yeah, that would be really dope. And I know how to shoot video. So like, why not? So we literally like came up with this concept of a bride wearing her red outfit, walking around all the scenes in Spain. So the concept was like, basically the bride didn't want to take her outfit. She didn't want to stop being a bride after the wedding. So that she goes around the next day, she gets her coffee in her outfit. She's walking around on the train. She's doing all the, and people are just like looking at her like, what the fuck is this? And so we made like a little 7-8 minute film, and then we submitted it, and it got a bunch of awards, and it's.
Wait, so who else knows you do video? I've never seen you do video.
Because I'm always doing photo.
The fuck, Sarah? I'm sorry to what? This entire time?
Yeah, Dean taught me.
That makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yes. So like I've known how to do it. So and it's
I feel lied to. I feel betrayed.
I'm not like an expert, videographer or cinematographer, but like I can compose a shot and I can direct it, and I just found myself doing that throughout the shoot. I was like, okay, no, move over there, go like this. And I was like, no, that doesn't work. And like, okay, let's do it like this. And then I would do like an overhead shot. So it was just like implementing everything I know about photo and video and just making a film that did really well.
That's dope. Congratulations. You need to send me the link so I can watch this.
Well, it's when you submit to festivals, you can't
you
do that. So I'm going to see about if we can submit it to some in the US. We've won a lot of international ones.
You don't have like the private link? I want the private link.
Okay, I'll send it to you on WhatsApp.
I won't share it to anyone. I know the rules.
It's a really nice film because at the end she does like a reflection and then what she says. And I can't take all the credit at all because she is the one in Berlin, Ishika. She is the one that edited it. So I just gave her the footage. She did a voiceover. She put the music. So she's really the one that brought it all together and like just pieced it so beautifully.
Collaboration.
It was a collab.
Oh, what was I going to say? Are you screenplay writing as well?
No, I haven't thought about that.
You need help. You let me know.
Yeah.
The little brown, the girl, that sounds so good.
Let's
you
do
let
it.
me know.
That needs to be the next thing.
That sounds great. Well, what should we expect from you and where can we find you?
So what should we expect? I get a lot of ideas and I do a lot of things. So really just keep it open. Right now, the next big thing that I'm working on is Aura Academy. So this is going to be my super affordable, very accessible way for people to get coaching with me
Nice.
online, but like they'll be able to have access to me, and it's a group mentorship program. So we're pricing it at 111 a month because it's like that number stood out to me, and I was like, that seems fair, like for what I'm going to be pouring into it. And so it's going to be weekly classes with me on Zoom. So I'm going to be teaching everything I know about social media, everything I know about energy work and healing. Like, this is not just photography training, this is like life coaching mixed with all the things, a life with business coaching.
That is so dope.
And then I'm going to bring in a guest to teach on whatever topic once a month too. So I'll do 3 classes and then one's a guest. So I'm really excited about this because it's going to open the door for people that want to learn with me, but they find that it's hard to really like invest a lot because my one-on-one coaching is more expensive because that is a lot of my time and energy.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come up with something that like could help people on a bigger scale and globally, so I can help everyone across the world. And that's going to be coming out really soon.
If you go to her workshops, if you ever speak to her or listen to her coach, she cares so much about people and making sure that they have the tools they need to be successful. I can't wait to see how many
Yeah.
people you touch with.
Thank you.
This is
It's
that's
just a big
awesome.
impact. And I want to see people making more and feeling more empowered because that's everything. I think for me in my personal story, it wasn't until I started understanding more about the energy of money and energy of attracting the right clients. And like, I started seeing that in my business. And now I'm like, oh my God, everyone needs this because we put so much of our power to other people
Yes,
and our worth. And it's like, it doesn't need to be like that.
I heard that. Tell people where they can find you, your website, your
Yeah.
social medias.
For sure. Social media is at This Modern Love Photo, and that's Instagram. And then what else is there? YouTube, I'm on Instagram, This Modern Love Photography. Um, I'm on Threads. I like Threads. I'm just like always chiming in on
Threads is
Threads,
fun.
and I don't care because I'm just like, I have a thought, it's going on there type of thing. So those are my main ones. And then the studio is This Modern Collective, at This Modern Collective. So if you are into finding a home studio in Atlanta that like will embrace you and help give you coaching tools and give you a space to freaking create some bomb stuff, like you should hit it up.
All right. Now we're going to get into our random question and game time section, okay?
Cool.
So first we're going to start with the random questions.
Yes.
Now the first one, I know some people do not like to talk politics, so you can answer however you like to answer it. You
Yes.
can even say I decline to answer it, and I will not
Judge.
berate you, okay? I will not judge you, okay? Who are you voting for in the 2024 election and why?
I decline.
That's perfectly fine. We will judge you in the comments. I'm just kidding. What music do you work out to?
Ooh, a lot of podcasts. It's weird. Like I do more like not like going hard working out and stuff. So like if I'm on the treadmill, I'm like listening to astrology stuff. It's not really music, but I do like more like I guess EDM, more faster pace. I don't know how to
Don't
even
try to clean it up
describe.
now. We already heard you say you listen to
Listen to
podcasts.
astrology.
How is that? I can watch a TV show maybe
Yeah.
while running.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've tried a podcast.
Yeah.
It's just listening, not
Yeah.
watching.
Well, yeah. I don't have to watch it. It's just like
Maybe.
because I follow a lot of astrologers. They tell you what's going on in the planets, and then
I love that.
it helps me like prepare for the week. And then I'm just like, I like to educate on this kind of stuff, so that it's
Okay.
always fun for me. And then the time goes by.
Give it a try. Okay, all right.
Don't try to clean it up.
What's the last movie you watched?
Ooh, I don't really watch stuff. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think.
I don't really do that.
I mean, I'm watching Ozark again for like the 4th time.
Dean was just talking
I know
about
he really was. We watched it together too, but like I tend to rewatch it because I like that show. I like the style of it, but like I don't know. I just really don't keep up.
That's okay. We're judging you. No, I'm just kidding.
On every question.
What's the last show you binged?
Ozark.
Wow.
And then Breaking Bad. Those are
Breaking Bad
that's
is-
yeah. Oh no, Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. I
People
thought might have
slept on
been. I
that.
thought it might have been better than Breaking Bad.
I think it was.
I- the-
I loved the film crew on there.
The
I always thought it's like me, Dean, and like our other friends because we would do shit like that all the
I
time.
thought that the way they film certain things, it's so unique, and you can just tell it's the Breaking Bad family.
Oh, yeah.
The crew. And
I love that setup, like the director, the way everything's shot, everything.
And similarities. Both of those series, the first seasons are extremely slow. Extreme. If you can't get
You
through
gotta
the-
be patient.
yes, you have to.
You
get
have to
through those
push
first
through the
seasons.
first few.
If you get through those first seasons, it just takes off. And Better Call Saul was such a ride.
It really
So good.
was. Oh my god, I loved it.
Yes. But Breaking Bad, rewatching Breaking Bad, people talk about Skylar and how hated she was. And I feel like watching it, when I first watched it, I felt like I hated Jesse. I still hate Jesse when I watch
Yeah.
it sometimes. Not as much anymore. When I realized on the second watch, I could see how much
He was going through a lot.
and he was
had
being
a
manipulated.
lot of he had a lot of trauma.
He was manipulating him the entire time. He was a young kid. He was in high school.
Yeah.
So when you think about Walt and how he treated Jesse, it was manipulation the entire time.
Yep.
Killing his girlfriend, all of that, just really terrible guy. And then
Yeah.
Skylar, she got a bad rap because it was like she was a killjoy. But when you look back on it now, like her and the son are such victims. Walt is a really terrible, terrible human being.
He is, but he made a lot of money.
He did.
And I guess the sorry to scream into the mic. And I guess his whole intention was for them and for the family, but it's like how that just can take a whole other turn.
It evolved into something completely different to him. Either he became Heisenberg or he was always Heisenberg.
It's a good one.
What was the last concert you went to?
Ooh, who was it? I did. God, I'm so bad at this stuff. It just sounds so boring, but I'm not. I was supposed to go to G-Eazy, but I didn't make it
So weird.
because I had to shoot a wedding. But I won free tickets in Florida, and I had to give it to someone else because
Oh, damn.
I was like, I had to come back and shoot a wedding. Another reason why I'm getting my life back.
So you can go see G-Eazy. What was the last thing you ate?
What did I eat?
God damn, you don't remember anything.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Have you been to Fork in the Road?
Why does that sound familiar? Not just because it's a saying, but
It's
sounds
kind of like this. It's a very underrated like gem of a place, but best like Southern food and
I think I
stuff.
know
It's
I
like
don't know if
in
I've ever had it, though.
Tucker area.
I do know what you're talking about.
It's by the Popeyes.
Yes.
That's what I had, and it
Yeah.
was fire.
What did you get exactly? You gotta tell us.
They have like these fresh chicken tenders. It's almost like, do you remember how Mrs. Winters used to do the double dippers?
Yeah.
It's like that,
Okay.
but it's super fresh.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, and I got honey lemon pepper, and it was fire.
Damn, that sounds good. Well, what's a music artist you listen to? Who's a music artist you listen to that people wouldn't expect?
Ooh, let's see. I have such a weird selection of music that I like. So it's all really weird actually. And I'm trying to think of the name. It's a lot of underground stuff. So like even if I said it, people like let me look at the name while that's ringing.
I'm so sorry.
You're good. People trying to hit you up. Hold on. You can cut this and then cut to the next point.
As she looks up the music artist.
Oh, I really
So
love
underground.
Cannons. I love
Who is it?
Cannons.
Oh, Cannons. They
Yeah,
are
that's
great.
such a
They're a
vibe.
vibe. They are definitely a vibe.
And then Clams Casino is like,
And Casino.
yeah, I like that.
Okay. See, I
vibe.
know both of them.
Okay.
All right. Now this is game time. The following questions are asked in the form of a game. It's a play on the Drink Champs game, Quick Time with Slime, where the host Nori asks the guests to pick between two artists or things. So it's like Tupac or Biggie.
Yeah.
And you got to choose one or the other, but you have to, no
gotta
thinking
just
about it,
go.
you just got to go.
Okay.
All right. It's only 10 questions, okay?
Got it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Indoor or outdoor wedding?
Indoor.
Canon or Sony?
Canon.
Video or photography?
Video.
Natural light or lighting equipment?
Lighting equipment.
Bride photos or groom photos?
Bride photos.
Taking photos or editing photos?
Ooh, taking.
Cocktail hour wedding food or reception dinner wedding food?
Cocktail hour is pretty good. Yeah. I like that.
Yoga or hiking?
Yoga.
Meditation or prayer?
Meditation.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Papa John's or Domino's?
Papa John's.
You did great. You answered accordingly to how I thought you would. Maybe these were too easy.
My answers.
What'd you say?
Were you predicting my answers?
No, I just getting to know you. I was like, I think she might choose this, and yeah, okay, all right.
Oh yeah.
Sarah, it was such a great time having you here. This flew by so fast.
It really did.
I felt like I had so many questions and it was going to take forever, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to keep you here too long. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you. Once again, this is the Everybody Hates Shoe podcast. This is my guest, Sarah. We'll see you on the flip side. As always, I love you. I'm proud of you. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Peace. Awesome
Killed it.
stuff.